All right, so far our presentation is still pretty boring, so let's jump into, we're supposed to save this with a different name, but who cares? We write over it, it's no big deal. But now let's spruce this up a little bit. Like in most of the Microsoft products, if you go to the Design tab, you've got access to all kinds of themes. And hint, hint, for the homework assignment, the quiz, or the test and the project, each theme has a variant. And so when they say pick this theme, variant number 2, these are not named, they're just numbered, right? And you can modify them that way. The theme that we're supposed to pick for this presentation, and when you pick a theme, if you don't have slides, or even if you do have slides selected, the theme I think is applied to the entire presentation, unless you right click and say apply it to only 1 or 2 slides. So let's apply this to the entire presentation. If you click the More button, you can see a whole bunch of themes here, and we can hover on them. And I have a facet theme that's kind of green in position 2. Do you have it? Because Bob swears that some of these themes are missing. Yes? Somebody nod so I can hear. Thank you. But all kinds of themes here with live preview. One caution. These things get worn out. I mean, everybody uses them. And so you do a PowerPoint presentation and you come up with this nice wood background and you think it's pretty cool. And the audience will go, oh God, not again, the wood theme. Here we go. All of these can be customized, so maybe you customize them yourself. There's another couple of hundred of them on the web that you can download. Just recognize that they do get a little worn out after PowerPoint's been out for a while. But every time there's a new version, there are new themes. And you can spruce things up for another 2 months before everybody gets tired of them again. Probably didn't go that far. I'm sure you could. So I'm going to really quick right click this and notice it says apply to all, which is the default selected slides, and make this the default theme for all PowerPoints from now on. I love facets so much. I don't think so. Let's apply to all. Notice the colors change, all kinds of stuff, and here's my variants, and I can hover on those and see them. Occasionally there's more, other times there's not. But with the variants, you can also just change certain color schemes. Each one of these variants has its own different color scheme, so you can go on from those. And Forrest's question was, can I right click? There you go. So I right clicked the variant and said just that slide, or if I did, I could say just that slide. Now when you change themes and variants, often your fonts will change. So if we go to slide number 3 here, all of a sudden things are looking kind of small. All right, so I look to 4 and 5, it's the same way. So I'm going to shift click on 5 to select all 3 of them. I clicked on 3 first, then shift clicked on 5. So now they're all selected, and I'm going to follow my own instructions here and bump the size of the entire slide by 3 points, and it won't let me do it. So I guess we're going to have to do 3 and do just the text box. So select the text box and then bump it up by 3. 1, 2, 3. You get the idea. I'm not going to do 4 and 5. Doesn't seem to be any easy way to do it. Let me try something real quick. I'm going to click on 4. I'm going to click on this text box and press F4. Go. Oh, it worked. F4 in all these Microsoft products means repeat what you just did. And so now I can click on number 5 and click the border around my text box and press F4, and it just repeats what I just did. So all 3 sizes got bumped in there at once. And that can be very complex. Right? So that's just a nice little shortcut key that comes in handy sometimes. Okay, let's do some fun stuff here for a change. Go to slide number 2. This is the to content slide. We created this and they changed it on. No, we changed it with the theme, changed the colors of our capital letters a little bit. But now let's add our first picture. To add a picture, you just come into the placeholder that's over here and say, I want to add a picture. So let's go get Produce 1, which should be in the folder where you just got this file from. If you're not there, then you might have to navigate back to the folder again in that first PowerPoint tutorial folder. Come on. And so we want Produce 1. And there it is. Now we have a picture formatting toolbar that is very similar to the picture formatting toolbar in Excel and Word, and you got to play with these frames, and you can change pictures and reset pictures and recolor them and do all that stuff. We're supposed to crop this, so let's drop the list down and crop it to a diamond shape. So if you drop the list, here's the crop to shape. Find the diamond. My screen is so small I can hardly see it. Maybe a diamond here someplace. That one. That'll work. Click, and now it crops it to a diamond shape. And it looks a little funky here, but that's what they said to do. These borders do not display when you move. That's what it really looks like. Let's go to slide 3. This one doesn't have a placeholder, but I would like to insert a picture. To insert a picture where there's no placeholder, we need to go to the Insert menu, and there's your trusty dusty Pictures bar, or button, same as it is in Microsoft Word and Excel. Click it, insert a picture. This time we want Produce 2. That's not working very well. So we're going to crop this one a little bit so that all we get is kind of the carrots and half the onion. So this time we're going to crop manually. Click it. Notice now we get different handles, just like we did in Microsoft Word. And we're supposed to take the bottom right and crop it up. You got to get that. Notice my mouse pointer changes to an L or a T, so you know you're cropping. Bottom right, and we can crop and just get a little bit smaller picture there. The rest of that picture is no longer going to display. As soon as we finish clicking the crop button here, the rest of it hides. And now, like any place else, if you touch it and get the 4-headed arrow, you can move this and line it up. You get some alignment lines here after a while, so you're lined up with the right edge. We don't have to follow that. Got a little bit of an issue here because this is sitting on top of the text. I seem to remember we're going to fix it later. Well, let's fix it now. If we grab the text box, we can use its sizing handles to drag in and say, hey, you list, you're not quite so big. Need some room. And then put this, there's a middle alignment box. Hopefully that's what they want me to do later. If not, who cares? One more time, slide 8, still have a placeholder. Let's put people in there. So click on the picture placeholder and grab the people. That's already lined up pretty good. If we want to make that a little bigger, remember the tip here is use the corners, because when you grab the corners, it makes them bigger without distorting them. If you do any of the size handles, it distorts them, distorts the picture, and then you got issues. Okay, so if you want to make them bigger, use any of the corners or smaller, and it'll leave them the same basic aspect ratio, I think they call it. And then you can move this around and line it up however you want. In the real world, that's how you size pictures. In the assignments, usually they'll tell you make the picture this high or this wide. Right, so let's pretend that we want the picture to be only 5 inches wide. And so with the picture formatting toolbar open, if you're going to make it exactly a certain, let's make it 3 inches high instead. Change the height to 3. And whenever you change those and press enter, the aspect ratio holds, and it automatically sizes it to a perfect 3 inches high. I have no idea why in the real world you would care. The question is, how does it look? But they got to grade you somehow, and grading you on an exact picture size seems a bit crazy. Now, we've resized some of our pictures. We made one of them smaller. We cropped a couple of them and took stuff out. You can, to make your PowerPoint slide a little smaller, and this is less of an issue today than it used to be, but many of you still have very highfalutin powered cameras at home that take 16 megapixel pictures or more, and then you take that lovely picture and throw it in your PowerPoint. That 16 megapixel picture in its native format is probably 16 megabytes big, and it's just one picture on one slide. And if you shrink it down like this, doesn't matter, it still takes up the same amount of space. If you want to post this on the website or even make it fit on your flash drive so you can take it with you to your presentation, you might want to shrink them down a little bit. The book asks you to compress your pictures. You do that very simply, picture format. Once again, we can do them all or we can do just the one. Okay, I want to turn off the apply only to this picture and compress all my pictures so they're only big enough to fit the box that they're in or to fit the cropping that we've done. If you do this, you can no longer uncrop. You might remember, actually, I'm going to cancel this. You can watch, you can stay there. If I go back to that picture that we cropped, this one, and I go to click it and grab the format tools and choose crop, the missing parts come back, so I can uncrop if I wish. Once you've compressed, there's no more uncropping. All that stuff gets removed to make your PowerPoint presentation as small as possible. So I'm going to return to compress from here, but it works just about anywhere. So format, and then my picture selected, picture format, compress. I want to do it to all the pictures. I do want to delete the cropped areas. That's a big part. And then you pick a size. This is good for web pages. This is good if you're emailing the presentation, or you can just leave them the way they were. Well, that's the smaller you make them. This is 96 points per inch. The fewer points per inch, the less resolution, the fuzzier they get. So by choosing 96, if you watch really carefully on your picture or on my picture, you'll see the resolution change. No, you won't. I didn't see anything. With a picture that small, doesn't usually matter. Now, if you're using PowerPoint as a slideshow, look at these great pictures from my vacation, and each page has got one big picture on it, you might see a difference. But if that's what you're using PowerPoint for, and now if I look back, because I cropped this, I'm going back to cropping, notice the gray shaded area is gone. It's been chopped off. Except for the diamond. That stuff, this area around here, can't be chopped off, so we could actually put this one back. But if you resize, if you crop by taking stuff out and not to a shape, it will resize. PowerPoint comes with a handy new feature, at least it's new to me because I didn't know about this one, and that's Gridlines. If you really want to make sure stuff is lined up really, really good, you can turn on Gridlines and a ruler. I'm not a big fan of the ruler. Who cares how wide the picture is again, but the grid lines can help you with alignment, so I can grab this and snap it to the grid and move it around until it looks good with the grid. Use it for a little while and then you can turn it back off again. So that's where I turned it on. That's where I would normally turn it off. Go to slide, let's see, we did that. Slide 3, move the pick so the right side is near 5.5. Oh, come on. Really? 5.5 on the ruler, so I want the right edge to be around 5.5. That's over here someplace. There's probably a grid line there. There we go. Then what? And it's a line to the top. Now that line, that orange line, was showing up all the time. There was one in the middle. Now you're centered in the middle of the text, top of the text. Those are showing up without the grid line. Who cares if I'm lined up at 5.5? Maybe I want all my pictures to be lined up in the same place, then okay, maybe 5.5, but that's stretching it. Most people aren't going to see that your picture's bouncing around a little bit. So before that annoys me, let's turn it back off again. When we resize, now we've got a little more room, we can resize this. And notice that the font size may also change a little bit, particularly if I drag it this way. That one's kind of stuck. But the font size may adjust to fit inside here. In one of the projects, they asked you to type at the end of this. What happens if I type too much? I spell it right. Notice that the font size is automatically changing to fit the box. You can turn that off and say, I want to type more, I don't want it to shrink. Or you can keep stretching it and it'll get bigger at some point as well. Another nice feature that comes in handy is showing or adding speakers notes. By default, they're off. Scared the heck out of me. I couldn't find them. The only easy way I've seen to turn them on is either, I thought it was up here, but it's not. These are pages. I found it somewhere. It was hiding. But the easy way is use the little notes button down here. That's a little collapse button. If you click it, your speakers notes come up, and you can type anything you want here. So go ahead and type your name in there, and then anything I want. And what you're really doing here is reminding yourself to, this is the place at this point where you hand out the handouts, or this is where you hand out number 2. It shouldn't be a whole lot of content. I've seen that this book has actually said in the past that you can put extra details in here that you're likely to forget, like statistics. 75% of all mid-state graduates are satisfied or whatever. If you've got some statistics that you're afraid you're going to forget and they're not enough to put in the slide, you can put them in your speakers notes. And then later on, you can review a notes page that has each slide with notes. You can actually create a notes master and do all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's a lot more to PowerPoint than we're seeing here. Now I've switched. I'm going to go back to master view. All kinds of different views that we can see. PowerPoint has a spell checker. Here's my auto font. That's not spelled right. If you got somebody else's and you want to spell check it, normally when I'm typing and I see the red lines, I can't leave it till later. I got to fix it now. But if you did leave it till later, then you go to review, just like in Microsoft Word. You say spell check my PowerPoint presentation, and it'll go all the way through it. And you can ignore or change. I'll change that one. Opportunity, that probably needs to be changed. And notice all the cool things. If you don't know how to pronounce it, you can ask for pronunciation. Lovely. Synonyms, lovely. But I'm just going to change it. Minimum or minimums, volunteer minimum, that's good. Minimum 2 hours a week. And DeSoto, with that one I'm going to leave because that's somebody's name. I don't use that very often. I think the only reason I remember it's even there is because this class or other classes make me remember it's there, because they make spelling mistakes on purpose and then they make you go fix them after the fact. Probably a good catch if you're typing really fast, but the red squiggles are there. So it should catch most of them for you. Finally, how do we view a presentation? This might get interesting because I'm using dual screens. And PowerPoint, if you go to slideshow, has the ability to sense that I'm using 2 screens. And when I use 2 screens, it displays my PowerPoint presentation on the second screen, whatever that happens to be. And this is something you used to have to set up all the time. And boy, was it a pain. Can't tell you how many presentations I've gone to, and the presenter starts, and it shows on their laptop, but it doesn't show on the screen. And then they fumble around and fumble around, and finally say, does anybody know how to fix this? And I go it up, and I go, and I click on this thing. Now it's automatic. To start your slideshow, there's all kinds of buttons here, right? Cool thing, I can record it. I can time it. All kinds of neat stuff here. Right? But I can start from the beginning. I can start from the current slide. Or, this current slide is so common, it's there, and I think this one way down here is also current slide, but I'm not positive. I'm sorry, this one's current, that one's the beginning. Right? That's the beginning, yep. And this one's probably current. Yep. So they're slightly different. And right now it didn't sense this because of my Mac laptop. It didn't quite know that I was on a different presentation. But if you're in a different presentation, you can go to Presenters View and you'll actually see it. This laptop will show me one screen of my PowerPoint presentation, and that will show me a different one. The reason it's not duplicate, or the reason it's not splitting for me right now, is because I have mirrored images, meaning show whatever's on my laptop up there. If I turn the mirror images off, it'll probably work better. I guess I could try it. There's another risk. Yeah, I'm not going to try it. There's another risk because I'm using a Mac in Windows mode and it's mirrored. By the time I get all that stuff turned off, it'll be time to go home. But now that you're in here, Notice the little buttons down at the bottom here that lets you go to the next slide. Color on this. What color do you want? How about red? And then you can color on this and say, I don't like carrots. Okay. And do whatever you want to do. You can actually save the coloring if you wish. I don't normally do that. But all you have to, now to turn that off, you just press escape. And what does this one do? I don't even know what most of them do because I know, because I am a PowerPoint expert, that if you click on the background, it goes to the next slide. Many people have a little clicker they carry in their hand. It's Bluetooth, it's wireless, and they can change slides using it. It's got its own custom buttons. You can also use the arrow buttons. It's another one I love. They don't know that to go backwards, all you have to do is press the left arrow key. Oops, I went too far. How do I get back? And you'll see them do this kind of thing. Right click and next, 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 next. Or they can view last. Or notice there's even more here. So lots of stuff, but these little buttons, very unobtrusive, help you. You can zoom in a little bit, and if you click, it'll zoom in on that point, and then you can drag around, and if you need to, again, press escape to get out of that mode. And one final thing, if you right-click, notice there is a presenter view. This is what you see on the other screen. When you have dual screens and they're hooked up right, and not convoluted like mine are here, what you'll see on one screen is this. So this is me, all right? And I can see the next slide that's coming, so I can think ahead. If there's any notes on this slide, I'll see them here. All right. So very convenient, and I'll try, I don't know if I can, I'll try to set this up so I can show it to you where this one, I'll see the presenter view and the other one presenting the actual slideshow. So that lets you really get creative with the notes and whatever else you want to do here and looking ahead so that you know what you're talking about next and don't have to think about what's the next slide. Everybody used to print out their PowerPoint presentations and then flip through the slides and go, geez, I covered a lot, and flip, flip, flip. You know, what a pain. Questions about that? All right, I'm going to escape to cancel the presentation, I hope. You want to keep my ink? No. So now I'm back here again. Last thing I want to talk about, then we're done, is printing. But just in case. And every now and then it does come in handy to do slides. When you click on print, you get some choices. I don't normally print full page slides, meaning every page, one piece of paper, is an entire slide. That gives them a complete copy of my presentation. I must really think it's good for that. What I prefer to do is change different things here. Notice you don't have to print all the slides, but change things and notice all the different views. I can print my notes pages. We saw those before, and if I have any speaker's notes, they're included here. Not a big fan of those because the speaker's notes are usually personal for me to say, don't remember, or remember to do this. Why would I want to hand that out? Maybe because some wise guy would say, you didn't do this. I know. Go away. So I don't like that one too much. Look at a couple of the other ones here. There's outline view. This is not bad for handing to the audience because they see all your text, which is the important stuff. And they can write notes next to it and they get the highlights. So that's not bad. And that'll print on just a few pages. You can also print multi-sided if your printer will do it, etc. That's outline view. Then there's one slide view and 2 slides and 3 slides. I like 3 slides personally because they get to see shrunk down versions of my slides. A place for them to take all important notes because what I'm saying is very important. I'm sure they're going to fill this up with all kinds of notes. If they want handouts, this is usually the way I go. Gives them a place to take notes, plus they can see my slides and where they looked. But there's others as well, 4, 6, 9. Bring your magnifying glass. You can frame them, scale them to fit, super high quality. Again, my favorite is 3. And then the other thing to take a look at, do you really want them in color? Bad enough you're printing. I hope you're, of course, it depends on who you're presenting to. You know, the Air Force is real big on when you're presenting to a general, they get color slides. And then what do they do with it? Pretty much throw them in the trash can on the way out the door. My preference is grayscale. They look just like the original, but they're black and white. If I had printed them in color on a laser printer, it'd look just like this anyways. This gives you a preview what they're going to look like. Does my background make the slides here hard to read? There is an option here someplace to actually remove backgrounds. Pure black and white's kind of rough. Well, I'm pretty sure there was an option someplace to remove the background for printing if you really want to. But if your background's that colorful, then maybe you don't want to print in the first place. PowerPoint, the last couple of editions, has got real good at not covering up the text with the background. There you go, now you're PowerPoint experts. That ought to get you through any of the courses here at Midstate, really. For most PowerPoint presentations, this is all I use. I don't get real fancy with transitions. Thank you for the warning. I don't get real fancy with transitions, and that's what we're going to talk about next week if you want to come for that. How do I move from one slide to the other? And these are going really fast. You can see all the different effects. Whoa, man, that just makes my presentation so much better. Not. If anything, it's distracting. And I don't want them to distract. But transitions aren't too bad. But then the animations, we can do all kinds of cool stuff. Make the bullets come in one at a time, fly in from the left, fly in from the right, circle around and land in a hover position or whatever. And that's what I'm going to talk about next time. And that's really part 2 of tutorial 2. Part 1 is a bunch of boring stuff, I think. Making your pictures super cool with frames and shadows and colored. Nah. The animations occasionally can come in handy. So I want to talk about those. That's what I will basically going to have you go through on your own next week. If you finish that part of the tutorial, I'll give you the bonus points, 50 points. So don't forget, there is an exam/project for this, for tutorial 1, that you must complete, or don't have to complete if you got a couple of spares. And there's a case problem that most of you already got done. So I'll check those off in class. If you prefer to email them to me, the only risk, I don't know if you figured this out, but if you email them to me, I don't give you a chance to fix them. If you get them wrong here, I walk away, say fix it, come back later, and you can get your points. If you email, you get what you get.